Ask Polymath Geddy. I am Polymath Geddy, your polymathic source for all information, knowledge, wisdom, and advice, as well as a rational perspective on issues that you have not yet found the answer to. We have a question from Brooke in Illinois. Her question is, how do you feel about the laws of nature and how they relate or don't relate to the way humans live currently? This is a great question, and I believe this is a fundamental question of all of life, because if we were to understand the laws of nature and we were to embrace the laws of nature, we would not be having most of the problems that we have in society today. A lot of the problems that we have would fall away, because I think they are brought on by ourselves, thinking that we know better than nature, that we can conduct ourselves and eat the kinds of foods and live the kind of way and drive the kind of vehicles that nature doesn't agree with. And you know you're right when you get the right result as a result of your actions. You know you're not right when you're suffering as a result of the decision you've made. Because nature will tell you, in one way or another, whether or not you made the right decision. And it is your right at that point and responsibility to acknowledge that and adjust your course accordingly. So we can start from biology, for example. We all have human bodies that grow in time, but they grow by way of sleeping, by breathing, by drinking, and eating, and time. And it is an act of nature, an understanding of nature, and an agreement with the laws of nature every time we eat something, every time we drink something, provided it offers us the proper nutrients to get us through the rest of that day and the rest of that week, and so forth. When we sleep, that is a natural biological occurrence. That goes in accordance with nature. Nature has a way of prompting us sometimes to act in complete harmony with it. For example, we get tired to the point where we are exhausted so deeply that we can't help but to sleep. We pass out unwillingly, because nature is saying, whether you want to sleep willingly or not, your body will force you to sleep. So there are certain ways where nature forces harmony, and there are other ways where we could fight against it. For example, nature forces harmony by way of making us hungry, by making us have to use the restroom, by making us have to take another gulp of air. These are forces of nature that are within us that act involuntarily through our autonomic body system, through our system of our digestion and our respiratory and the whole function of the human body. So there are certain ways that nature forces us to act out and respond in harmony with it. There are other times where we think we know better. For example, we decide that we want to drive an automobile because we like the convenience of going from point A to point B in a less time. And so what do? We use fossil fuels, we use other forms of energy. And these forms of energy are detrimental to our environment. Not only that, they're causing cancer, because all the pollution and all the toxins are coming up and they're going into our pores and into our lungs and into our blood cells and contaminating us from within. So there are some ways that we decide that we want to harmonize with nature and it helps us. For example, fruits and vegetables are grown from the earth and they provide nutrients for us. When we eat them, we consume them, we become benefited by doing so. Same thing with herbs and spices. And I also will say, I do believe in a meat-eating diet. You may disagree or not, that's up to you. But we do have a cycle of life where certain animals feed off certain animals, feed off certain animals, feed off certain animals, feed off bugs, and then the whole cycle of life sort of rejuvenates and sustains itself in a very organic way. And this is the nature by which animals were created. And the difference between animals and humans, the main difference, aside from the fact that we are more aware of ourselves and the universe around us, is that we have the free will to decide how to act outside of our base natures. See, we have a nature that is prone to acting in certain ways. We can act out of animalistic urges, we can act out of instinct and so forth, but we can also act out of preemption. We can also act out of a state of willfulness and mindfulness and thoughtfulness and thinking ahead. We have the ability to override our own biology in many ways, in the limits of our own physical selves, and become greater in the world. No longer do we have to walk or run to get somewhere. We can ride a bike, we can ride a skateboard, we can ride a car, a bus, a train, a plane, and so forth. We can take ships across oceans instead of swimming. We are not subject to our bodies. All other beings are subject to their bodies. They do not have the ability to create something and use that to surpass their genetic limitations. We do. We don't have to be able to lift a house. We can use a crane to move it or knock it down. So there's lots of things that we can do that involve exceeding the limits of nature. And sometimes these things work for us, sometimes they don't. It's our objective and it's our prerogative, and it's of our highest interest, should I say, to make sure that we observe how our decisions are affecting us and the world around us and act accordingly. And I think the main thing that is causing society to dwindle is greed and lies and power lust and so forth. People are willing to send men to war for oil so that they can sustain their automobiles, so they can keep milking the profits and controlling resources. When in fact, you no longer really need oil to run a car. There are scientists in France and Australia, for example, who have learned how to create a car, or have created a car, basically, that runs on air. And I'm not even kidding, it runs on breathable air. You can put your mouth on the exhaust pipe and not get sick. You can put your hand on the engine and not get it burnt. So the technology and the human creativity is out there, okay? The potential of a world that is brighter and better and more sustainable is available to us, or at least it's trying to make itself available to us. But the powers that be, albeit the political parties and the shadow government that runs all the governments of this world in secret, through the Federal Reserve Bank, should I say, and through the military-industrial complex, and through many other forms of hierarchy, they control the process of businesses and what is legal and illegal, and who has what money and where it goes and how long it goes there, who's taxed and so forth, who's regulated, who's put out of business. They make sure that certain people are not able to produce at a high level to sustain us in a way that is most harmonious with nature. The fact that a scientist in like 2004 or 5 came up with the great air car and is obviously superior to a car run on gasoline and fossil fuels, but the fact is we're not driving them. Why? We're still driving fossil fuel cars. I mean, you would think overnight people would just outright go and get those air cars, right? It would be like a no-brainer. Why drive a car in fossil fuels when you can drive a car that runs on air? The amount of money it costs to fuel it is almost nothing. The amount of energy you get is almost limitless. But here's the problem. People who are profiting from gasoline and fossil fuels and military weapons and so forth to go into these countries and invade and obtain these resources will then go out of business. And these are people who are deep into the political hierarchy. And they control policies that we operate under. So they are forcing us to constantly go against the harmony of nature. They're forcing us to fight against the way this world and universe was designed for us to coexist in. They're forcing us, literally, with a barrel of a gun on our head, to make sure that we go along with the program. And if we don't, we're taken out. At CIA or FBI or someone will come and knock down your door and take you away. So it's gotten to a point where we're living in a very prison-like world because the potential of the human race is being stifled by political corrupt people who are small-minded and bigoted and very, very controlling and very, very, they're power-tripping. They want to play God. But at the same time, the real God does not want us to be stifled. The real God put all of nature within our grasp. And if you think there's nothing new under the sun, it's kind of ironic that the technology that exists today has always been possible since the beginning of time. And the technology that will come about in future generations, in future centuries, exists right now. We are just not acting on it because there's too many forces suppressing us. So, for example, we have GMOs in our foods. Why? Because it's cheaper for food production to put GMOs in and maintain a higher ratio of food output to dollars. So they're making more money by injecting hormones and using pesticides on crops and so forth. And they're basically fabricating our food, giving us frankenfood in a sense. We're not getting legit food because it's cheaper to do it the kind of artificial way. And not enough people are educated on the fact that the food that they're eating is cancerous and poisonous and complete crap. So they're not really looking into what they're putting into their body, which is one of the most important decisions you'll ever make in your life. is what you eat and what you drink. Believe it or not, and the decisions that you make on a daily basis add up to what your body becomes. Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, everything that you can imagine, your entire physical state of being on this planet is determined in a large part by the food you eat and what you drink and how it affects you in every level, even cellular. Okay, so we have to consider the fact that nature didn't put GMOs in our food. Nature didn't put pesticides on our crops. Nature didn't kill the bees. Nature didn't pollute our air. We are doing this to ourselves. So I believe that we should be harmonizing with nature. We can solve our problems when we look to nature. Looking to nature is looking to God. Looking to nature is looking to the universe. It is finding what the greater force that is beyond us has planned for us, has created for us. And the Earth is obviously created with intelligent design, as is the entire universe, and who knows what other universe may exist outside our own that may also have intelligent design embedded in it. So everything I believe that is of creation by way of a greater being. You can call it God, I do. You can call it infinite intelligence, whatever it is. It has created everything with intelligence embedded in it, with logic and reason and structure within it. Planets rotate in a certain way to achieve a certain level of distance away from the sun. Gravity prevents certain planets from colliding with each other. Everything has been created with intelligent design embedded in it. Okay? Even our own bodies have an immune system that fights off sickness. Even our own respiratory system has a way of breathing so that we can sustain life. Our own environment has trees that breathe out so that we can breathe in, so that they can breathe in, so that they can breathe out and we can breathe in. It just continues and continues and continues. So nature is the way. We have to understand nature in its purest sense, outside human greed, outside human influence. Human beings hold the power to control whether we thrive in our environment or not. Animals, plants, other species, bugs, you name it, they are all acting in accordance to the harmony of nature that they were created for. Okay, so they are acting in accordance to nature. They are acting out of agreement with nature. You never see a dog trying to pollute society. You never see an animal kill another animal to brag about it to another animal and not eat. You know, everything has a purpose in nature, and it's nature feeding off of nature. Sometimes it's very hostile. It's not always peaceful. You know, sometimes hurricanes come and destroy land. Sometimes there's forest fires that destroy forests, which is a force of nature. Not everything is going to be completely productive to the immediate well-being of nature itself, but ultimately nature has a way of curing itself and revealing a new future for it. And as long as we allow ourselves to harmonize with nature, understand our bodily functions, understand the proper levels of nutrients that we need and where they come from organically, as long as we understand psychology and how to behave with other people in accordance to how people are made, we can understand nature. Human nature, nature of society, the nature of biology, the nature of oxygen, water, land, sea, universe. Everything is basically created with intelligent design in it. And as long as we agree with it, we'll be okay. We won't have all these problems. We won't have all this cancer. We won't have short lifespans. We won't have so many issues that are stifling our progress as a human species. And one more thing. This isn't nature in regards to the way the environment and the universe was created, but it's nature in regards to logic and common sense. If we spend more money than we earn, we are going to be impoverished. And if we're impoverished, we are limited in our resources and our abilities to act and take a step forward. And this stifles our spiritual growth because we're no longer able to act out of our purpose, because we're acting instead out of desperation, which is usually not out of our purpose. So there's also the force of nature that is within us and how we decide to live in accordance to our own soul speaking through us. So there's a lot of things to consider with nature. It's not just physical phenomenon. It is not just something in the external world that we are harmonizing with. It is also within ourselves that we need to find the path of truth in. And numbers is another factor of nature. You know, you can't add 2 plus 3 and get 7. You know, you have to add everything accordingly. And as long as you agree with nature, You'll have a logically sound understanding of what things are, the placement of things. And basically, it just comes down to being logical, rational, reasonable, and objective. And you can have perspectives in a certain way of looking at things that is unique to yourself. And if you really want to, you can even have a dog in the fight. But the fact is, if you allow bias and greed and ill intent to interfere with the flow of nature, you are corrupting the society you live in. You're putting negative energy out, and you're contaminating everything. So you want to make sure that you're acting out of pure intent, out of pure understanding, not out of bias, and out of reason. Don't allow yourself to be tilted one way or the other if there's not sufficient evidence to balance it out. You have to be able to act in accordance to logic and reason, but also you have to live harmoniously with the nature that we are created within and understand it fully, understand biology, understand the nature of the body, understand the nature of the environment, the nature of plants and other life forms, and try to find a way to harmonize with it. Try to find a way to not be at odds with it. Don't have malicious intent toward it. Even look at the Native Americans. They killed buffalo and all these other animals, but they did so with respect. They did so with thankfulness to the universe for offering it to them. They did so understanding the energies that come from the animal. And they didn't kill out of sport and to brag and to be show-offs or anything like that. They killed because they needed to eat. It was self-survival, it was preservation, and other animals do the same. It is the order of life, it is the process by which this world conducts itself and continues through the path of time to sustain itself. So as long as we harmonize with nature and don't allow greed and bitterness and power lust and the desire to play God to interfere with how we operate, we can best take advantage of the human potential. And, you know, nature basically says if you're about to fall, you better catch yourself. If you're hungry, you better eat. If you're feeling sick, you better rest. If you're feeling energetic, you better do something useful with that time. Nature has a way of calling upon action. Nature has a way of giving one the right answer if you conduct yourself in harmony with it. So, yes, we do fight harmony a lot. We do fight nature a lot. We decide a lot of times to put our own will ahead of what is best for us. We decide to put our own base desires over what is most healthy for ourselves and others, and for the society and environment that we live in. So we do a lot of this, and a lot of that comes from the power that's at the top, the corrupt political hierarchy that we have ruling our world right now. And these politicians are stifling our ability to be creative and resourceful. So I would say that there's many ways that we are not living in harmony with nature, and we have to really look at those points and make sure we act and make sure that we change what is wrong with ourselves. Make sure we change how we are fighting against the nature that we are created within. Make sure that we are one with our environment and we are one with each other. Thank you for watching. For anyone else that has a question, AskPolymathGeddy@gmail.com. Make sure you put your name, location, and a question in a brief paragraph, and I will try to answer it as soon as I can. I usually try answering it within a week. Sometimes it takes a little longer, but I try to get to it within a week, if possible. So that said, thank you very much, guys. If you want to find me on Facebook, Facebook.com/Geddy Friedman. I'm the Polymath and Renaissance Man. If you want to find me on Instagram, I'm PolymathGeddy. And if you want to find me on YouTube, besides this account, I also have another one, Mr. Deafness. You can check out some of my drum videos and voiceover videos and other cool stuff. But so I hope I answered your question pretty well, Brooke, and that's about it, everyone. So thank you for watching. Pass this video around. Please support this channel by liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing this video. I really need some more assistance, guys, because I'm trying to get the word out that I'm trying to help people and trying to live for some cause that is of some use to others, that I feel is a good exercise for myself as well. So please do pass this video around. Don't just watch it and then go away. Unlike other YouTube channels, this is totally independent. I don't have any major sponsors or anything. You guys are my sponsors, so I'm doing this for you guys. So I'm working for you guys. We're working together. You're sending me questions. I'm helping you answer them. You can contribute to the conversation down below in the comments if you'd like, and we'll go from there. So thank you very much, everyone. Ask Polymath Geddy. I will be back shortly.